tutorial. In this video we'll learn how to create this cool poster effect with this nice neon text here, which you can see with some bit of a stars here. So let's close this document, and I'll be using this ready poster I got from the website www.sxc.hu. It's a nice website. So let's duplicate this layer. Ctrl J is a shortcut key, or you could just simply right click and click on duplicate layer. Once you have done that, let's desaturate this image here. Let's make this black and white. The shortcut key for that is Ctrl Shift U, which it desaturates and removes up all the color. So the other shortcut way for that is image adjustments. You could click on black and white and just simply press OK, or you could click on the same desaturate here. Once you've done that, let's add a blue color on this, fading the top part with black. So let's create a new layer, and I'll be using the gradient tool with this color. So clicking on this gradient here, it opens up the gradient editor. Once that's open, you can see the color which I already have. I'll be using this one. So press on OK and make sure reverse is not on. Using linear, let's click, holding your shift key, drag straight down, so you get this. And let's turn the blending mode of this color to, let's say overlay. Now overlay is giving a lot of brightness here on the bottom. Let's try multiply. Multiply is great. It gives a perfect black on top and leaving the blue at the bottom. Let's create a new layer again. So as you saw the final product we had at the start, it's giving a nice neon effect on the word trumpet here with the letter TRUMPET. So for this tutorial I'll just be tracing up the letter T, which is a bit faster. It would take a lot of time for me to trace the whole thing. So using the pen tool, we'll be tracing this. Let's select the pen tool here and make sure you have your new layer. Doesn't really matter now since we're not filling it at the moment. I'll be tracing this. Let's start from this point here. Let's zoom in here again select the pen tool. The shortcut key for that is P, or you could simply click on this. Let's trace that. It doesn't really need to be exactly on the edge of this, but you have to be at the outline so that it's seen that you're creating an outline. Once you've done that, the T is really easier since it's just a straight line. For example, you are tracing the U or the R's inner part here. Let's check how we trace this U. For this example, I'll just be tracing this inner part here. So let's say you started from this point and you would go straight down here and click, and you just bend this, drag it towards the shape you want. So once you've done that, let's curve this point here, and then you would just go straight and click up here. You would get that curve. So let's zoom back here, and using the pen tool, I'll just remove the path. Just right click, delete path would delete even your path which was traced over the T. Since we don't want that, let's undo this. We just need to remove this path. So using our direct selection tool, just highlight this path here. Make sure you don't have that selected. So highlight this and just delete that by using the delete key. Once you have that done, make sure you are on the new layer. Let's rename this to color, and let's call this letter T, and let's call that letter T outline. So once you've done that, let's adjust our brush tool, since we'll be drawing the outline with the help of this brush. So let's adjust a size here. Make sure your hardness is set to 100%. Let's try 5 pixels. 5 is really thick. Let's try 3. I think 3 is fine. 3 is fine. So using the pen tool, once you've adjusted your brush tool, let's add a stroke with the pen. There are two ways to add a stroke. So you could use the paths tab here and simply clicking on this icon here, which fills in the stroke with the help of that brush. So since we already adjusted our brush, if you click on this, it would just fill in the stroke completely, which is a quicker way. The other icon over here is which fills, undo that, it fills in the fill not the stroke, just the fill. Since we don't need a fill for this tutorial, since we'll be adding a neon effect which is just the outline, I'll be clicking on this icon, or you could just right click and click on stroke path. And since we don't have the simulate pressures checked, this icon didn't fill the simulate pressure, which would give on 2 fades at the point we just started and ended. Let's check that. For example, I'll undo this. Using the stroke path, I'll check on simulate pressure with brush selected, press on OK. Since we started at this point, it fades in this. Let's remove this path here. You see that since we started at this point and went this way and came back and ended from this point, it fades in this outline of the brush. So we don't want that. Let's undo this and let's bring our path back. We'll be unchecking the simulate pressure. Make sure you are in your new layer. We don't want something going wrong here. Okay, once you've done that, let's remove the path by pressing escape once. We don't need to save that path unless you want to use it on later. Once you have that done, let's add some effect to this outline. So opening up the blending options, let's call this, I think the layer just undid, so let's call this back T outline. Let's open up the blending options, double click on the side of this layer. It opens up the layer style. Let's add an outer glow for this. Let's check on what we have here. Control plus zooms your screen here. Once you have that, let's go back to outer glow and let's make the blending options normal. Let's increase opacity up to 100 and we'll add a blue glow here. So let's try something like this is fine, and let's leave the technique to softer, spread up to 5%, and let's increase the size up to 10 pixels so we get a bright glow here. And let's change the quality contour to curve deep. It gives us a bit more of a neon look. Let's reduce this range, or let's leave that back to 50%. Once you've done that, let's press on OK. I think that's enough with this effect for this letter. You can see that we already got our effect here, which is really looking something cool. Once you have that done, let's add up the stars I had done in my completed product. Since we had traced the whole thing, so we had a couple of stars on this side and that side. Once that's done, let's create up the stars. Let's create a new layer and call this stars, or you would call it anything you'd like. I'll be using the brush tool for the stars. I've already got a brush here for my stars, so I'll reduce this. Let's open up the options for the brush. Pressing F5, we get the options opened so that we can adjust our brush. Let's reduce this size, diameter up to way up to 30% pixels, sorry. 36 is fine. Let's adjust the spacing later on. Let's add the shape dynamics, increase the jitter way up to 100%, and let's change the control to fade. Let's say about 25 or say 30 is fine. And using some scattering, we would not really want to scatter a lot, so around 600 to 700% count. Let's reduce this way up to 1. Once you've done that, close this, and make sure you are in the new layer of the stars. Just let's add something like this. Since you're doing your remaining letters here, you would add some up on this side or on the end. So since we have just the T, let's add up some few stars on this side, and let's use the same blending options we used on the T here. Holding your Alt key, come above the F icon here. Make sure you have your Alt key hold. Just click and drag, which you can see the FX icon getting copied here. Once you release that, you have the same effect on the stars. Let's edit that. It looks really not nice since it's a. Let's edit that. Double click on this FX here, or you could simply go to this FX and click on blending options. Once you have the style open, let's go back to the outer glow and let's reduce the size a bit, say up to 8 pixels, and let's change the contour quality to normal. Let's click on this. Once you've done that, press on OK. we have a nice shining stars. You're not yet done with the stars, so let's duplicate this stars layer. Control J to duplicate, or just right click, click on duplicate, press on OK. Once you have that done, let's join the blending options with a new layer so that we have the effect applied. Since we'll be changing the blending options, if you have your blending options here in this, for example, what I'm talking about is the effects here. If you have this layer on and you would use some blending modes over here, it won't really add a strong effect. So keeping that to normal, we'll be merging it with an empty layer below this so that we off or disable, or let's say remove the blending options effects we created and merge it. Let's say we do control long icon here, let's say using the shortcut key control E, which merges it, and you can see the effects is gone, which is removed and applied. Let's change the blend mode to vivid light, which gives us a shining star. It's really bright star. So let's hold on your shift key, make sure you don't move them separately, shift key and select both, or you could use a control key and drag this somewhere around here, and let's off this stars, which we actually have what we want, but it's really too small. So let's just reduce the opacity of this layer a bit, somewhere around 47%, and let's drag this layer above this. Okay, once you've done that, I think that's all we have for this tutorial. You could even add some brightness here, which would look a bit more shining. So let's create another layer. Let's do that also. Creating a new layer, let's call this shine, and using our brush tool, let's go back to our default brush here. Let's make that a bit bigger. I think some 50 pixels is okay. Let's reduce the hardness completely away up to 0%, and make sure you have your foreground set to white. Let's just color up something like show the shine here, or something like shining over here. And once you have done that, let's change the blend mode to overlay, which you can see that brightness. Let's close the eyeball and check what we have done here. You can see the brightness here. Let's add a bit here. Let's reduce the opacity, the size of the brush, and let's add something like this, which would shine up your neon text. So that's it for this tutorial. I hope you learned something from this, the way we use the pen tool and the way we fill in stroke using different styles, making black and white. So I hope you learned something in this. Thanks for watching.